We were always up for an adventure, and one day we decided to check out this old train trestle that was rumored to be haunted. Now, I ain't one to believe in ghosts and all that, but I gotta admit, what happened that day was downright eerie. We set out on a sunny afternoon, laughing and joking as we walked along the path that led to the trestle. The trestle itself was a rusty old thing, like something straight out of a horror movie. But we were fearless, or at least we tried to act like it. As we got closer, we noticed a figure standing near the trestle. It was weird, you know, because there ain't supposed to be anyone else around. But we brushed it off as maybe some other folks exploring the place like us. But as we got nearer, the figure just vanished. I mean, it was there one moment and the next, poof, gone. We all stopped dead in our tracks, our hearts pounding in our chests. It was like something out of a nightmare. Of course, we didn't want to be spooked, so we convinced ourselves that it must have been some sort of illusion or trick of the light. But that didn't stop the unease from settling in the pit of our stomachs. As we cautiously approached the trestle, we heard strange noises in the distance. It was like whispers on the wind, but there was no one around except for us. I tried to shake it off, telling myself it was just the wind playing tricks on us. But the thing is, the wind was dead still that day. No breeze, no rustling leaves, just silence. And those whispers, they didn't stop. They kept getting louder and more distinct, like someone talking just out of earshot. I could see the fear in my friend's eyes, and I know they saw it in mine too. We wanted to turn back, to run as fast as we could, but something kept pulling us forward. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was just plain old stupidity. When we finally reached the trestle, the whispers were so loud, it felt like they were inside my head. And then, suddenly, all hell broke loose. The trestle started creaking and groaning like it was about to collapse. We didn't waste a second. We turned and ran, our feet pounding on the ground as we scrambled away from that cursed place. As we ran, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was chasing us. I kept looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see that mysterious figure hot on our heels. But there was nothing there. Just the empty path behind us. We didn't stop running until we reached home. Safe and sound, or so we thought. The thing is, that experience stayed with us. It haunted our dreams and made us question everything we thought we knew about the world. To this day, we still talk about that day at the trestle. We may never know what really happened, and part of me doesn't want to. Some things are better left unexplained, you know? It was a dare we took on a whim, wanting to test our bravery and see if the stories about the place were true. As we entered the cemetery, the air felt heavy, and the moon barely peeked through the thick clouds, casting an eerie glow over the tombstones. My heart was pounding in my chest, but I didn't want to show my fear to my friend. We walked cautiously, our footsteps echoing in the silence as we navigated through the rows of gravestones. As we ventured deeper into the cemetery, I could feel an unexplainable sense of unease settling in. My friend tried to make light of the situation, cracking jokes to ease the tension, but I could tell he was just as spooked as I was. We knew we were trespassing on sacred ground, but the adrenaline and curiosity pushed us forward. Suddenly, we heard a faint rustling sound coming from behind one of the old mausoleums. It was like someone was shuffling around, but there was no one in sight. We froze in our tracks, straining our ears to catch any other sounds. That's when we heard it. Eerie whispers carried by the wind. My heart raced, and a cold shiver ran down my spine. I looked at my friend, who seemed just as terrified as I was. We exchanged uneasy glances, silently agreeing that we should turn back, but before we could make a move, the whispers grew louder, almost like a chorus of unsettling voices. My friend suggested it might be just the wind playing tricks on us, but I knew better. These whispers had an eerie, otherworldly quality to them, and they sent a chill down my spine like nothing I had ever experienced before. Fear gnawed at my insides, and I felt a deep urge to flee from that place. As we hurried back towards the entrance, the whispers seemed to follow us, growing louder and more persistent with every step. My friend tried to maintain a brave facade, but I could see the fear in his eyes. We stumbled over gravestones, our hearts pounding in our chests, as we desperately searched for the way out. Finally, we reached the entrance gates, and the whispers faded away. We didn't waste a second and ran as fast as we could, not daring to look back. Only when we were far away from the cemetery did we slow down, gasping for breath. As we caught our breath, my friend and I exchanged nervous laughter, trying to brush off the terror we had just experienced. But deep down, we both knew that what we heard was real. Those whispers were no mere coincidence or trick of the wind. Something inexplicable and eerie was present in that cemetery that night. From that day on, we vowed never to return to that cemetery after dark. The experience had shaken us to the core, and we couldn't explain the unsettling voices we heard that night. It left us with a lingering sense of dread and a newfound respect for the mysteries that lie within the realm of the unknown. Sometimes it's best not to push the boundaries of what we can comprehend, for fear of what might be waiting in the shadows. Let me tell you about this crazy night that me and my buddy Mark had when we decided to explore that old, creepy cemetery near town. It was one of those nights where the moon was hidden behind clouds, and the wind carried a chill that made your skin crawl. We were feeling brave, so we figured, hey, why not check out the cemetery and see if it's really haunted? As we approached the rusty iron gates, they creaked ominously, setting the perfect eerie tone for what was about to come. The graveyard was overgrown with gnarly trees and vines, and the tombstones were weathered and cracked, giving the whole place an unsettling vibe. I gotta admit, I had a knot in my stomach, but I didn't want to look scared in front of Mark. We tiptoed between the graves, trying not to make too much noise, but the crunching leaves and twigs seemed to echo in the night. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, and every rustle of the leaves sent shivers down my spine. The wind howled through the trees, and I swear I heard whispers in the distance, even though Mark assured me it was just the wind playing tricks on us. Then, out of nowhere, we heard it. A faint little girl's laugh, like a haunting melody carried on the wind. I froze in my tracks, and Mark's eyes widened. We exchanged glances, both of us feeling the sudden weight of fear pressing down on us. I wanted to get out of there, but Mark, being the thrill-seeker he was, insisted we stay and investigate. As we ventured further into the cemetery, that feeling of being watched became stronger and stronger. It was like eyes were boring into the back of my head, and every hair on my body stood on end. I turned around several times, convinced I'd see someone lurking in the shadows, but there was nothing. Just as we were about to call it quits and head back to the car, we heard something that sent chills down our spines. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from behind us. Panic washed over me, and I didn't even want to turn around to see who or what was there. Mark, on the other hand, was determined to face whatever it was, and he started walking towards the sound. "Hey, who's there?" he called out, his voice shaking a bit. There was no response, just the sound of those footsteps getting closer and closer. I grabbed Mark's arm, urging him to leave, but he was stubborn as ever. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped, and we both turned around, only to find nothing but empty darkness. That was enough for me. I practically dragged Mark back to the car, my heart pounding in my chest. We hopped in and locked the doors, and that's when we saw it. The back doors were slightly ajar, like someone had been trying to get in. We slammed the doors shut and peeled out of there as fast as we could. Back at home, we couldn't stop talking about what had happened. It was like something out of a horror movie, and neither of us could explain it. All I knew was that I never wanted to set foot in that cemetery again. The memory of that little girl's laugh, the feeling of being watched, and those footsteps still haunts me to this day. I don't know what we stumbled upon that night, but I do know one thing. Some places are best left unexplored, especially when they're as creepy as that old cemetery.